Welcome back to Medrash Umaisa, sharing a story that relates to the upcoming week's Parsha. This is a story that I heard from the Talmud Rebbe Shlita. He told it about his own youth when he was a young ger chossid. This was the story that he told. There were a group of ger chassidim who wanted to be by ger for Yom Kippur, and the ger chassidus found different places for them to stay, to sleep. He was with a group of boys who stayed near the Shuk on Rehov Agrippas, and as one of the older Bachrim, he was in charge of the group. Now, one boy in the group was going to be traveling to Chutz La'aretz after Yom Kippur, and he came after Yom Kippur to see the Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael, the Ger Rebbe, to ask for a bracha as he left to Europe. The Rebbe asked him about how Yom Kippur went. He asked him where they stayed. He asked him if everything went smoothly there, if there was anything unusual. And the boy said, well, there was one thing that was unusual. After davening Yom Kippur night, when we came back to go to sleep, there were a group of teenagers who were hanging out near where we were staying. They were clearly not doing malacha, probably fasting on Yom Kippur, but they seemed kind of bored. When they saw us, they said, hey, Chasidim, bo lirkod, Yom Kippur. Chasidim, come dance. It's Yom Kippur. They started singing, David, Melech Yisrael. So he said, so we thought, yeah, that's nice. And we started dancing with them. But the older Bachur who was in charge of us shut it down. He says, stop that right now. This is not appropriate for the night of Yom Kippur. There's not a time for this dancing. Everybody go in and go to sleep. The Beis Yisrael asked who that young man was who was in charge of things and shut it down. And he told them it was Yitzchak Menachem Weinberg, later to become the Talmud Rebbe. So the Rebbe said he got called into the Rebbe, the Beis Yisrael, who was known to be more harsh with those who were most close to him. And he gave him some sharp criticism about shutting down the dancing that night. And he told him, he says, where did you learn that you shouldn't dance on the night of Yom Kippur? He said, there's actually reason to say that dancing on the night of Yom Kippur is an appropriate time to dance. The Rebbe said that he thought about it afterwards, and he said perhaps, at least one of the kavanas that the Beis Yisrael had, was that dancing, their code, is also connected to one of the malachas which is done in processing grain, l'raked, where you separate the wheat and the chaff by putting it in a sifter and bouncing it up and down. He said, in reality, that's what we're doing on Yom Kippur. We're trying to drop off all of the psolet, all of the chaff, all of the external things that aren't really us, and to remain with our true identity with purity. He said, therefore, in his base medrash, they dance every Yom Kippur on Kol Nidre night after Ma'ariv. They're singing and dancing as a tikkun, so to speak, in fulfillment of the Rebbe's lesson. It's very important to know that there are times when it's not appropriate to dance, but it's also, there are times when it is appropriate to dance, and the two interact. We find that by Chet HaEgel in this week's Parsha, the Sforno said that when Moshe Rabbeinu came down, Vayaris HaEgel v'samcholos, he saw not only the Egel, but he saw the Jews dancing and singing. Says the Sforno, Bozeh hiskatzev v'noash shuyuchal litin in the Takenesam Umas. With this, he realized that there's no chance to fix things to the extent ba'ofen sheyachzru l'tamusam, that they can go back to the way they were and be worthy of receiving those first luchos. Therefore, he broke them. To do something wrong is one thing. To sing and dance about it is another. Rav Fishel Shechter shared a fascinating Chasam Sofer, who said, what protected the women? The women of Am Yisrael did not participate in the Chet HaEgel. What gave them that protection that the men didn't have? It says we see that by Shiras Hayam, they rejoiced even more. When Miriam sang and danced with the women, it said that they took tupim. They had tambourines or drums. That isn't mentioned by the men. Singing and dancing with that, all that you have at the time that it's appropriate, can protect you from singing and dancing at times that aren't appropriate. Have a wonderful Shabbos.